Hello and welcome to Market House, the podcast where we talk all things Disney. My name is Caleb.
And I'm Caitlin.
And in this week's episode, we play a fun new game called Is It Worth the Price?
And celebrate Market House's 1-year anniversary.
Let's dive in. We're so excited here recording episode number 48 for you guys, and it's going to be a good one.
This is an exciting one.
It is an exciting one. Why?
This is our 1-year anniversary.
Yes, so 1-year anniversary for Market House. It's been a year, which is insane.
It's such a good, I don't know, I love it.
It's an achievement.
And it's so crazy.
A milestone.
Which we'll get into it later, that you were doing this solo for a little bit.
I was. So we don't need to talk about that. Or we don't need to listen to those episodes because it was just early on, very early on. But yeah, I was doing it by myself, which
You were
again,
killing it.
We'll reference later and talk about. But no news this week because we are actually, when you're hearing this episode, we'll be flying back from Vancouver from our Disney cruise.
So excited.
The Alaskan cruise.
We're getting ready for that right now.
Yeah, we leave in a couple of days, and there's a lot of prep. We talked about it before, but it's no joke.
Yeah, but I'm so excited to tell everybody how it went, and again, just experience Alaska.
Yes, and we can talk all about it here. But before that, why don't we tell the people what we've been up to?
Ooh.
We had quite the movie night last night, kind of an impromptu or just spur of the moment. Let's watch a movie, pop some popcorn, and what did we watch?
We watched Monsters University.
Yes.
And I cannot tell you how much I enjoyed that movie. It is so funny. It's so cute, heartwarming. I loved every minute of it.
I remember we paused it in the middle because you went to pop the popcorn and you just like paused it and said, I just forgot how much I love this movie. It's so good.
It's such a good movie.
It is. It's so fun.
And recently, actually, we didn't mention this, but Caleb was going through some old things like boxes out in the garage. And he found some old popcorn buckets from the Disney parks.
I did. I thought I had. So when I moved from my apartment where I lived by myself into the house we live in together now, if we got married, I thought I was kind of in a purging mood because I did not want to move anything. And I thought I threw away like pretty much a full box full of popcorn buckets, but that turns out to not be the case. I found like 10 or 12 in this box in the garage.
Yeah, we found a couple good ones.
Yeah, so we rocked a Fantasmic bucket.
It's just so fun.
I
highly recommend if you're having a movie night, pull out one of the Disney Parks popcorn buckets, put some popcorn in it. It literally makes you feel like you're at the park.
Yeah, it was fun.
I loved it.
It was good. Yeah, so we watched that movie. And another recent thing that's developed at the home, I decided to go. So we've been using a Nespresso. So not espresso, it's an N in front of that. A Nespresso, and it's essentially Keurig pods, but with espresso in them. So a little stronger, right? You can mix milk with it, a little more foo-foo, right? It's a little fancier.
So good.
It's really good, but I was like, this is a lot of pods, man, and I feel bad. Like, we recycle them like good people, but I don't know. It's just a lot of like waste still. I don't know. It's just a lot. So I said, why can't we just do this the old-fashioned way? Like, get a classic espresso maker. And so I went and got an espresso maker and a grinder. And let me tell you, it is a lot harder than I thought. I cannot get a decent cup of coffee yet.
We've only tried it a couple times, but we definitely need to do it a little more because it is very
I know,
in-depth.
steaming the milk, and it's just a lot of steps.
But let me tell you, when we're grinding those coffee beans, it smells like heaven in here.
Delicious.
It's so good.
So I hope it works. I hope it works out. We have the Nespresso machine just sitting in a pantry thing right now, just collecting dust, but we might need to break it out to get a decent cup of coffee.
It's still on the counter, just in case.
We did use it this morning because Caitlin's like, you want to use a new machine? And I said, nope, because I need coffee in the morning. We will try it later in the afternoon.
Right. We'll get there, don't worry.
So yeah, that's been fun. That's pretty much what's been happening at the house. But let's go ahead and dive into our new game we got going on. All right, and now it is time for our new game. You're used to Disneyland trivia, and that's a lot of fun, but we decided to switch it up this week since we were sitting there like talking about how, stinking expensive Disneyland is now, And every dollar counts, right, when you're at the park. And we were kind of playing a game. Is it worth the money? So I'd ask Caitlin, do you think it's worth the money to do XYZ? Or do you think it's worth the money for this experience? And so we thought, why don't we do this on the podcast? Let's ask each other, do you think it's worth the money? Why or why not?
Sounds so fun. I'm excited for this one.
Okay.
Definitely interested to see what you're going to say about some of the things I have written down.
All right. I'm looking forward to it. So why don't we... Oh, yeah. And one caveat is we are only including experiences we've experienced personally. So we may say, is Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique worth it? Caitlin has not frequented.
I have not. I would love to, but I have not.
So I haven't done it either.
Yeah,
so
same thing with like a tour guide. We've never had a VIP tour. So
yet.
Right. So we won't be discussing anything we haven't personally experienced.
When I win the lotto, you have to play the lotto to actually win it. But when I start playing it and then win it, we can do a VIP tour.
Perfect.
Okay. Why don't you go first?
Okay. So first up, I have Blue Bayou. And this is something that people, I feel like all over kind of go back and forth on. I feel like you either love it for the food or you love it for the ambiance.
Yeah.
And it is a pricey experience. Again, I know that it's in the ride, but I'm very curious. Do you think it's worth the money to eat at Blue Bayou?
Okay. That's a good one. And I think it's a legitimate question because it's expensive, right? You're talking $50 a plate kind of, right? Price point.
Right.
And it's not like you're getting a $50, I would argue, quality level of food.
Right. And by that, we're meaning the items that they serve are good. It's not like the food's bad. It's not like cafeteria food. It's not like quick service. But I don't think it's as elevated as a Lamplight Lounge or a Napa Rose.
Even take it out of Disney. Go to your local restaurant in town or something and you're charging $50 to $60 a plate.
Right.
Does it kind of hit that?
It's definitely
level?
One of those where you're definitely paying for the experience and the ambiance of being right next to Pirates.
Yes. So I would say yes, it is worth the money. Again, with some, can we add like notes or something?
Oh, of course.
Okay. So yeah, it's worth the money, but I don't think it's you need to do this every trip kind of thing. Is it an annual experience? I don't even know if it's that. We've gone a few times and we've been going to Disney for how long? And it's fun, but it's definitely not you must hit this restaurant every single time.
No, I think you nailed it perfectly. It's one of those things where it is a great experience once you are in there because, again, being next to Pirates, hearing the sounds, the music, just everything in the environment of Pirates is so magical. I do wish the food was just like over the top amazing because I feel like we would go more. But I definitely, if you haven't been in a while, I think it's a must do.
Yeah.
But again, every couple of years, not every trip.
Yeah, for sure. You bring up a good point. Like for first time guests, you definitely need to go.
Oh, 100%.
Like if you've never experienced it before, for sure, go do it. It's worth the money. The risotto is amazing though.
Very good. And that's the chicken plate.
Yeah. And I've tried replicating it at home. It is not easy.
No, their risotto's very good.
Yeah. Very good.
They have like jambalaya and stuff too, right?
Yes.
Not a big fan of that. That's just me personally, but they have so many things on the menu that you can choose from. So,
yep. Okay, cool. So I'm going to save, I had one listed up here on the top, but I'm going to save that for later since it's a little more, it's a harder one.
Okay. Ooh. Okay.
All right. So let's do this one. How about the show dining packages? So think Fantasmic dining package, think World of Color. We've done this a couple of times. Is it worth the money?
So this is a tricky one because I feel like Disney has changed it.
You're right. When we went, it was wine country, and you got a section fairly close to the water, but it wasn't like now where you have like a dessert seating area and stuff, right?
Right. So, now it's kind of like one of those things where if you reserve the dining packages, you obviously have dinner and there's an area that you go to. However, on one of our previous trips this year, we were sitting in the same section as someone who got like a fast pass, you could say, not fast pass, what would you call it? Those where you got like a little return time for World of Color.
We got virtual queue for World of Color.
That's what it is, virtual queue.
So we got a virtual queue return time. These people went and paid extra money at their restaurant.
So they went, was it Carthay Circle?
I don't remember. It might have been.
It was something fancy. And they're like, oh yeah, did you guys do dining too? And we're like, no. And we had a really good seat.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard. And and I go back and forth because especially with the World of Color dessert party, it's very expensive.
$80, right?
But I'm like, those seats, they're amazing.
That one I would say if you've never seen World of Color or you can only go once in a while,
right?
That's worth the money.
And you can eat the desserts because like Caleb can't eat the desserts.
Yeah, exactly.
So, that one I would think is worth it. The rest of them, honestly, I just don't see it being 100% there for me. Only
Okay.
because we're in the same area as people who don't
Sure.
have the dining packages. Again, I could be wrong, but from what we've experienced, we were literally sitting next to people who spent a ton of money on dining.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, we just got to return time.
Virtual queue time. All right, cool. All right, so it depends, I guess, is the answer to that
What
one.
would you say?
Yeah, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, this one, I love this one. What do you think about Loungefly backpacks?
Okay, is it worth the money in my
Yes.
eyes?
Because this is a controversial topic. I've
Yeah.
seen so many different videos on YouTube talking about these things.
So yeah, most people know what they are, but they're basically very small leather backpacks
Right.
that are Disney themed. And what do they range?
So the ones at the park are usually $75. You can get them anywhere because, again, Loungefly does sell them other places other than Disney, but they can range from anywhere between $75 to around $90, depending if it's specialty or not.
Okay, so that's a chunk of change.
It's a lot.
Especially for a small little backpack. Again, anything at Disney is going to be expensive, so I'm not going to compare it to a Target backpack or anything. But I would argue they are, and this is why. You get so much use out of them. That's all you use in the parks. You've been using this little Lululemon like crossbody bag thing
Right.
recently, but 9 times out of 10, you bring one of your Loungeflies, right?
Right.
And you use it the whole entire time at the park. You even take it to the mall here at home and around town. So it actually is a very convenient little thing. And again, I'm a guy, so I'm like, is it practical and does it have a use case and utility?
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, it does. It carries your junk. So
Yeah, it
instead of a
carries a
purse,
ton.
you'll rock your Loungefly.
Yeah, and I do think, especially on like rides, with the shape of the bag, you don't have to worry about stuff getting smushed because it kind of keeps its shape.
Oh, yeah, it keeps its form.
I know it does. You push into it, it does move, but for the most part, your stuff is safe. Like you can throw your phone in there.
Yeah, it's not like a Jansport backpack that just kind of falls on itself.
Exactly.
Right?
So
Yeah.
I know they are expensive. Again, I only have a couple. I literally have 2. I know some people who have like 15 of
Whole
them.
collection. Yeah.
Yeah. So get some staples that you love. I think they are great, especially like holiday times or like I have a Halloween one that's my absolute favorite.
I love those. Again, my guy brain kicks in and I go, okay, so how often are you going to be able to use that seasonal bag, right? So I would argue buy one that's for everyday use and then you can start specializing your purchases.
Right, which is exactly
Yeah.
what I did. Like I got a classic just Mickey one.
Yeah.
And then like a couple years ago I went and splurged and got like a Mickey like it's
Glow in the
almost like
dark.
a glow in the dark like Mickey bat.
Yeah.
Loungefly for Halloween. It's my favorite one ever. But they're definitely expensive, but I highly recommend. I think they're worth it.
Next up, we've got park hoppers. So I know we don't have to deal with this anymore because we're pass holders or Magic Key holders, whatever. But for everyone else, is a park hopper worth it at the Disneyland Resort?
I think so.
Okay.
In previous episodes, I know we talked about this. I think it's great to be able to have the opportunity and the choice to go to the other park and get stuff done because there are certain times where, you know, we're feeling Disneyland in the morning, but by lunchtime, we're like, we just really want to be at DCA.
Yeah.
And being able to have that, again, I know they are extremely expensive and I know that we only have 2 people in our home. So for a family, that's a lot of money. But if you have the opportunity to pick, I would definitely say that they're worth it
I'd
because it
say
gives you
yeah.
flexibility.
I agree.
So
Especially over here on the West Coast, the ease of park hopping is multitudes. It's just so much easier to do that here. It's literally just 100 yards away.
Right.
Whereas over there, there's a whole transportation system you got to catch, and it probably takes 30 minutes to an hour to actually park hop by the time you get from gate to gate. So that's arguable for Disney World. But
I would almost say in Disney World, you wouldn't need a park hopper. Like I would be okay with staying at one park per day.
don't tease it. We're going to do a Disney World edition soon of is it worth the price?
Secrets.
So, okay, or is it worth the money? Okay, so cool. So yes, definitely worth the money. I think both of us vote that way. If you have the cash and you can swing it, definitely do park hoppers.
All right. Are you ready for a tricky one?
All right, let's do it.
What are your thoughts on Genie Plus?
Genie Plus.
Worth the money or no?
Oh, this one's so hard. But as much as I don't like saying it, because I despise the new system, I don't think, I haven't been silent about that. I think you know my opinion. But honestly, if you go to the parks once a year, once every couple of years, yes, it is worth the money. Because standby takes forever now. It's so unpredictable. If you listen to our recent trip report in line for Radiator Springs Racers, how that turned from a 45-minute wait to an hour and a half wait. Rise of the Resistance, it just came to a complete stop because they were backed up over in the Lightning Lane line. It's a tongue twister.
It is a tongue twister.
Yeah, so I say yes. If you want to get rides done, unfortunately, you have to pay up the $20 per day per person in order to get a chunk of rides done. Would I do it every day? No, but at least one time a trip. So if you're there for a few days, I would just pay for it once. It's worth the money.
I completely agree. And again, we'll get into this a little bit more later, but with the current state of the park with people who are in standby, you are in standby for who knows how long. Even if the wait is like 90 minutes, you'll end up being in there for like 2 hours. And it's kind of one of those things where if you don't spend the extra money and get Genie Plus, your day quickly turns to frustration and like, oh, I only went on 2 rides because everything's breaking. So we'll get into that later, but I think it's worth it.
Cool. All right, let's do one more here. And I'm gonna save the worst, not the worst, but this is the hardest one for sure. Staying on property. Is it worth the money to stay on property at the Disneyland Resort? Now, let me just list off a few price points here. You've got Paradise Pier Hotel, which is soon to be, I think, like Pixar Pier Hotel or something. It's going through retheme. You can get, I think, as low as around $400 and something per night. That's kind of on off like weekdays or off-season times. For Disneyland Hotel, which is the classic Disneyland Hotel, you're looking at anywhere from $500 up to like $800 a night, depending on when you go. And then the Grand Californian, the big guy, that sucker, that's like from low as $600 and can get easily up to like $1,100 a night.
Yeah, this is a really tricky one for me. If I were to wrap it up in a bow, I would probably say no.
Oh, okay.
It's really hard for me because we always have wanted to stay on property. Again, for those who don't know, Caleb, a long time ago with his family, stayed at the Grand Californian. When I was really little, I stayed at the Disneyland Hotel with my family, but they were so long ago. So this wasn't like we went yesterday.
Yeah, my dad paid, I think, $450 a night.
Yeah, when we went to the Disneyland Hotel, it was like $250.
Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So long ago. However, I do feel with the Disneyland Hotel, you're still far from the park. You're not able to walk into the park like you are at the Grand Californian or soon to be Pixar Pier. Is it Pixar Pier Hotel or Pixar Hotel?
I don't know yet.
Whatever, because again, Paradise Pier just now has a walkway into DCA. They didn't for a while. You had to walk through the Grand Californian or whatever. And then recently with us staying at the Westin, for what you can get there versus paying $900 a night at the Grand Californian, it is a crazy difference. Like the Grand Californian is nothing compared to the Westin.
Yeah.
So especially for what you're getting, and it's not even near as expensive as the Grand Californian. So seeing that up close and kind of getting a smack in the face of like, whoa, like Disney's expensive to stay on property.
Yeah.
It's hard though.
More than double what we spent. And like, again, the Grand Californian hotels rooms are nice and they're clean and stuff when just compared to kind of luxury hotels in the area, JW Marriott, a Westin, where you're paying a third a night.
Right. And again, I know people are probably like, well, we're not obviously staying at the Westin. So again, with even good neighbor hotels, it's hard because the convenience in staying at the Grand Californian is amazing because you could just walk into the park. Not, again, like I've mentioned, not so much with the Disneyland Hotel, but it's so expensive that it kind of makes you go, okay, why am I paying for this?
Sure.
Is it just convenience? Because if it is it worth almost $1,000 a night?
Yeah.
In some cases.
Some hotels are closer to the park than the Disneyland Hotel.
Right.
So the ones right across on Harbor are a 3-minute walk, whereas, again, Disneyland Hotel's not far away, but it's the length of downtown Disney. It takes 10 minutes to walk. Yeah.
Again, if they were cheaper, would I stay? Of course. Do I still want to stay even though they were super expensive? Yes, of course. Nothing on, but I'm like, I do wish they were a little cheaper because it is just astronomically expensive to stay there.
Sure.
So that's just me though. What do you think?
So no, I would err towards no. Now, if you asked me 5 years ago when the prices have like skyrocketed in recent years, like it's insane now. Back then you could get the Grand Californian for like $600 a night, $500 a night. That's when I was actually considering doing a stay there. So like for $500 a night, I go, oh, I get it. Like it's a lot of money, but it's doable for, I would say most people if you save for a long time, right? So this is not a, I'd look at you and go, hey, you want to go to Disney this weekend?
No. You save up for a while.
Yeah, we'd save a couple of years and go, okay, cool, we're doing our big stay. Now it's to the point where I'm like, I don't even know if we could, like, that'd be a lot of money, man.
Even if you're staying 2 nights.
That's a lot of cash, plus taxes, because that's what gets you. Taxes and fees at hotels are so expensive. So yeah, it's getting out of reach for most families now. and not getting. I think it is already out of reach for most families. And yeah, I think I would leave with a bad taste in my mouth going, I cannot believe I spent a couple $1,000s
Just on hotel.
For hotel.
Because again, going to Disney, you're not just paying for hotel. There's
you got food and
merch, airfare for us.
Sure.
Or Uber ride. So it all stacks up.
It's a lot of money.
Again.
So yeah, I would err towards no. But that's it. Thanks so much for joining us for our new show, our new game show.
Yeah, definitely reach out to us on Instagram and let us know, what do you think of these? Like, do you agree with one of us? Do you agree with the other? Like, what are your thoughts? I'm definitely interested because these are some pretty tricky, controversial topics.
Yeah.
So
cool. All right, let's dive into our main segment of this week's episode. All right, and that brings us to our main segment of this week's episode. And that is kind of just a discussion about the last year of Market House. So, like we mentioned before, this is the 1 year anniversary of the podcast, of the Instagram, and just all we've been doing. And it's been a blast.
I've loved every minute of it.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And we'll get into that later of how much fun it is and how much we appreciate you guys. But it's crazy to think, like you mentioned before, it is crazy to think that I did this by myself I went and looked back 22 episodes, I did it by myself for 21 episodes. You joined on episode number 22 for, what was it?
It was the Galactic Star Cruiser
The
one.
Galactic Star Cruiser discussion. Yeah. And I want to apologize, number one, for the audio was so messed up. I remember staying up till like 2 a.m. to try and fix that, and I couldn't, and I got it to a listenable range.
Right.
And I remember being so upset, like, I cannot believe the audio's all messed up. But we figured it out, and introducing a second mic into the situation can be tough, but it's been fun. I'm so glad you joined, and I remember after we recorded, I said, you're doing this every week with me now, please, because it's so much more enjoyable and fun. It's just fun.
I remember being so nervous for the first episode.
Yeah.
And I wasn't talking a lot. So I'm like,
I know. I remember we listened to it last night, and we were just listening to it together, and I said, you haven't talked in like 7 minutes or something like that.
I was so nervous.
Yeah.
And now I'm kind of like, oh, it's just conversational. I love it.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've grown as a person.
You've totally grown, Caitlin, in your podcasting skills. But let's do a little Q&A session. Let's ask each other some questions that I wrote up last night.
Okay.
And let's just see where we're at.
Okay.
With this whole Market House thing.
Let's do it.
Okay. So first question I have for you is, what is your favorite Disneyland memory from the last year?
Ooh, first of all, I have so many memories this past year. It's literally an abundance of memories. Like, I just want to take out like every single core memory because there's just been so many.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's good. You have so many, you have to choose one.
But yeah, the one that stands out the most, definitely, which our listeners have heard me talk about multiple times, is our first dinner at Lamplight Lounge.
Okay.
We were so excited to eat here with just how difficult it was to get a reservation, and finally just being able to go in. We got a perfect table inside, just like soaking up the ambiance and being there with you and trying the nachos, and we got like potato wedges. It was such a perfect evening. I loved the food. We had so many. We were just sitting there just taking everything in. I felt like a little giddy kid. Yeah. It was just amazing. And then we actually ended the night with going and getting chocolate caramels at Pixar Pier and kind of like walking around Bing Bongs. It was my favorite memory literally of ever.
Nice.
I loved it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lamplight is definitely a regular thing for us now. We have to eat there every trip, and it all started from that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. Okay.
What about you? What's your favorite Disneyland memory?
So yeah, this was tough. Again, like Caitlin said, there's so many, and again, we've had a good year, and it's been a blast. And again, it's a good problem to have when you're like, we have so many memories, we can't choose one. But I'm gonna have to go. It was either between the saving of our trip of staying at a hotel that we did not like and moving to a hotel that we ended up falling in love with. That's definitely a special place to stay at. We can't do that every time.
Right.
But the West Inn is just so much fun, because I remember seeing your face walking into the lobby and being like, okay, we made the right decision. Like, you were so excited. But I'm going to have to pick this other memory just because it was like the start of normalcy for us. And that was, I think, purchasing the Magic Keys back last year for the first time.
On our phones, remember that?
Yes. So we were in line. We did it.
Anticlimactic.
It was, because you used to have to go to the ticket booths, right? So I had bought a 3-day park hopper, and we were going to upgrade it to the Magic Keys after they announced them. And so we got in line at the ticket booth, and someone was sitting there, a cast member was leading, telling people what line to get into. And she asked, "Hey, what are you here to do today?" And I said, "Oh, we're going to upgrade our tickets to Magic Keys." "Oh, you can just do it on your phone." And I'm like, "Oh, okay."
And she's like, "Go ahead and take it out. I'll show you."
Yeah.
And we're like, "Oh."
I know. We're used to like going up and be like, "We're upgrading to the Magic Key." And they go, "Okay, cool, pay for it." And then you do it. No, she's like, "Oh, here, click this button. There you go.
You're good.
Pick which one you want." "Okay, cool."
I remember Caleb and I just looked at each other like, "Oh,
Okay,
okay."
I guess for Magic Key holders now. And then, you don't get a physical card now, so it's just on the phone.
Right.
So as wonky as that was, it just meant that like, oh my gosh, we went from a year of not having Disneyland, it was shut down, to now we get to go whenever we want, right?
That was so exciting.
Yeah. So
Oh,
I think
that
it was
memory.
that. I think it was just this, like, oh my gosh, we've got a year ahead of Disney.
Yeah.
And we used the heck out of that
Yes,
thing.
we did.
We
went
did
like what was it?
8 times.
8?
We went 8 separate trips. I know. So we went back and added them up to make sure like we were getting the right pass for this upcoming Magic Key renewal. And I added them all up and I was
Oh my
like,
God.
holy smokes.
It was so fun though. We went with family and
A couple family trips, solo trip. It was fun. So yeah, that was my favorite memory.
I love that memory.
All right, next question.
Okay.
What was your least favorite Disneyland memory from last year?
Okay, so I'm definitely going to have to go with, well, let me rewind with a little bit of backstory. For those who don't know, I am a big Fantasmic fan. I love Fantasmic. Growing up, it was one of my favorite shows. I love the music. I can literally tell you everything by heart. I just
Yes,
remember everything.
You sing it around the house quite
all
often.
the time. I love it.
Yeah.
And Caleb's like, that show is so weird. But
It is weird.
Anyway,
If people should agree, it is a weird show.
I love it though. So again, when it was gone because of COVID, they finally brought it back. I was so excited. I remember I have a shirt
Yeah.
that has fantastic. I was just stoked. And we were waiting. We had popcorn. We were so excited to see it. And literally all I thought about for weeks was just seeing this show. And when they went through the show, they changed the music and a couple of the elements of the show. Like a couple things were different, like the pirate ship, just little classic things that like I remember. And that was a real bummer to me because the music is not as good anymore to me personally.
Okay.
I miss the old songs, even though they were a little bit older. I loved the voices and they were so good. And then some of the princess scenes, you know how they kind of like bring them out on those boats and everyone's dancing
The
around.
float things, yeah.
They're not this. It's just different. Again,
Yeah,
I love the ones that they use now, but it's just the classic. I'm so sad about that.
I get that. And I think it's nostalgic to you, right? So you
Right.
go, that was what it was when I was a little girl. But at the same time, we have to understand that Disneyland changes every week. They're changing something, right?
And I totally get it. And I again understand. It was just one of those where I was so excited in the moment.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I never thought that they would change the music. And now I'm singing out loud. I'm like, Caitlin.
I know.
But it was one of those things
It's
where
different enough to where you notice.
oh, 100%. And it's not as loud. Or I'm going deaf. One of the two.
It's maybe a mix of both.
Pretty sure I'm
right?
both, yeah.
No, I think they did turn the music down because it used to be so loud and would scare like little ones. So maybe they had some
Yeah.
complaints.
But again, I still have to watch it every time. So,
Okay, cool.
yeah, that's mine. What about you? What's your least favorite memory?
Least favorite. There's a couple to choose from, but a lot fewer than good memories.
that's
But
good.
the most recent one that just kind of stings a little bit was when you were so excited. You told me after work one day, you said, I got a reservation for us to go to,
Oh my gosh, yes.
I'm blanking on the
Carnation.
name, Carnation Cafe. And I remember being so excited because we hadn't gone there since I think the last time we went was just after we got married. And so I was so excited to return for a breakfast thing. And we
Mickey
walked
waffles
up. Yeah, the
and-
whole thing. And so we walked up. And again, we mentioned this in our trip report, but they said, hey, kitchen's down. We don't know when it's coming back up. Sorry. And we went and ate at Galactic Grill. And about 25, 30 minutes later, we walked past and the kitchen was open.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where it was our last day of the trip, so we'd been looking forward to it the entire trip.
Yeah.
And so we were like, okay.
Yeah, when that didn't happen, things happen. Again, it didn't kill the trip or anything, but
Oh, no.
when you're so excited going, oh, we're going to go back to this classic restaurant and get the thing that I wanted, Mickey waffles, and it doesn't happen, it's kind of a bummer. So yeah, that'd have to be it. Next question. What surprised you most regarding the parks this year? So crowds, a food item, a ride, what have you? Just what was a big surprise to you?
So I have a couple things. Am I able to mention?
Yeah.
Or just pick one?
Yeah, I mean, you will be penalized, but no, you can mention them.
Okay, so a couple of things that I mentioned right off the bat was or that I noticed was the crowds are very heavy on what we normally would call off days.
Okay.
So back then, a couple years ago, pre-pandemic, the park would have off days where we would try and plan our trips because they would be down or slow, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And now I feel like Disneyland doesn't have any off days. It is packed every single day that we go, especially on those couple Mondays that we went. Packed.
Sure. And you're talking days of the week, right? Versus seasons?
Both.
Okay, both. Yeah.
So now, like, there's not a season or a month where you're like, hey, the crowds are lighter.
Sure.
It's kind of just like, hey,
it's always busy.
The crowds are always here.
Yeah.
So figure it out. That's one thing that I thought was very new because, again, like I mentioned, pre-pandemic, that wasn't a thing. You could go in February or January and all the holiday crowds were gone.
Yeah.
Or you could go 2 weeks after spring break and it would be dead. Now it's just like people are there all the time.
I would be like, kids, are you in school?
Right.
How are they getting out?
The next thing that I did want to mention, which has been quite interesting, is how Lightning Lane has created a lot of frustration. I thought that it would be like this thing that would eventually just work and would turn into a good thing. But the last couple times that we have been there, I found myself going, this has created so much frustration and made us stay in lines literally 45 minutes longer than normal. Again, I get stuff happens. I'm not going to sit here and whine about it, but I'm kind of just like, when a wait time says 30 minutes and you're there for almost 2 hours because of Lightning Lane, I just feel like the system needs to be fixed just a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, again, it's kind of hot. And sometimes we're sweaty and you're hungry or you have a time frame what you're trying to stick to. And the ride...
Sure. And I think it's unfair because people plan their day around those wait times, right?
Right.
So if they go, okay, we're going to grab lunch after this.
Yeah.
And you can sneak in a 30-minute wait and then it turns into an hour wait.
Right.
That kind of messes up kids' eating schedules and parents get grumpy. So I get it. Yeah.
Right.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So again, I'm not going to sit here and go, it's the worst thing ever. But I'm kind of just like, I just wish that they would kind of get it under control because it's getting worse every time that we go.
Sure.
So.
Good one.
That's
good
me.
couple.
Thank you.
For me, again, I was trying to stay as positive as I possibly could. But the one that just, again, is so glaring to me because I think I'm the one that interacts with it the most, but Disney tech. So the Disney app, Disneyland app specifically, the Disney website, Magic Key renewal stuff, D23 stuff. Anytime you have to interact with Disney at a technology level, usually is terrible.
Yeah.
The fact that I still can't make reservations in the app, the fact that it still boots me out to a web page and it's very kind of janky, the fact that they still have to do some kind of 3-hour wait virtual queue session things for a Magic Key renewal. Some people waited 7 hours, right? And at the end of it, it kicked them out for some reason.
Right.
I mean, like, for example, Apple, when they release a product, we're talking multi-billion-dollar corporations, right? Apple's a heck of a lot bigger than Disney, but at the end of the day, they have a lot of money.
Yeah, the resources are there.
Tons of money.
Right.
Resources are there. Exactly. There's no excuse as to like, oh, hey, it's expensive to develop apps and we don't have the people. I mean, you're Disney, right?
Right.
So those moments I'm like, how in the world? So, sorry, I went talking about Apple and then stopped. But Apple, when they release a product, like when I ordered my iPad 2 years ago and I woke up at 3 or 4 a.m. Pacific time and put my order in, it just worked. I went in, I clicked a couple buttons, added a cart, checked out, blah, 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 and it worked. And there are thousands, if not millions of people all doing the same thing at once. Mm-hmm. And the fact that Disney can't nail that down or invest the money to improve that experience is kind of mind-boggling to me. So yeah, I think a multi-billion-dollar corporation and there's an opportunity to get my money and it's still really hard to give them my money is kind of mind-boggling. And one more thing. The most surprising thing is the 100% virtual Magic Key cards. The fact that I have to navigate and click like 4 or 5 buttons to view my passes every single time I go through the gate is confusing.
I have noticed that, especially when we're trying to check out whether it's for merchandise or at like quick service for food.
Yeah.
It takes, and then sometimes Caleb's phone or like my phone will glitch and then it won't
freezes
work.
up.
And the poor cast member's like, can I have
and
your...
it's not the phones. You have a brand new phone. So.
Right. And so you're kind of having to touch all these buttons and get to your tickets, and then they got to scan it, and then it's just, yeah. I do miss the old cards. Those were really good.
I do.
And a lot of people do. We get so many messages about those cards, like, I wish they'd bring them back. And but
superior.
Yeah.
Sometimes old tech is better tech.
Yes.
All right. Enough complaints. What was your favorite episode to record?
So this one, It was easy right off the bat. It's number 36.
Okay.
It's our June trip report. One of my favorite trips of all time with you. Definitely core memory. That's the one where we stayed at the Westin for the first time.
Okay.
This is the one where, again, we went to Lamplight Lounge, which I previously mentioned. The chocolate caramels, the whole Pixar Pier memory. Like this trip as a whole, the weather, it was warm, but not just scalding hot like it was in August. I had the best time that trip.
Nice.
And just being able to talk about it and share it with everyone. Like I loved that episode. Just going back and listening to it just relives those memories. And I just love it.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's a good pick.
Thank you.
I probably would have picked the same thing, but I'll change my answer.
Okay. What about you? What's your favorite episode?
I'm going to go, and I'm trying to find exactly what we named it here. Episode number 43, planning for our Disneyland trip and how to handle summer crowds. So this is this is the episode right before we went on our trip in August. Yeah. And if you listen back to it, we're like, guys, when that sun's out, you just
Don't worry about it.
you go back to your hotel, you take a snooze, you hit the parks, coming back and whatever, and you take a drink of water, and it's all good.
Right.
We went on our trip a few days later and felt like we were going to melt. Right in the middle of Main Street, I was going to melt into a puddle of human skin. It was so hot, and we looked at each other, and I'm like, we were not prepared for this.
No, and it made me, like, when I looked around Main Street at all the parents who were carrying their kids.
Oh.
And, like, the poor parents that had those massive backpacks.
Yep.
I'm like, I just want to give you guys a hug. Just because I'm like, it's so hot outside.
I know.
It was like, it felt like we were on the surface of the sun.
I know. And I feel bad for, again, all the families. We're lucky enough and we're in a position where we can go multiple times a year, right? And we can go, we get a do-over. And most families don't. They go once a year or once every couple of years. That was their trip.
Right.
So they have to make it as good as possible and just make the best out of it. And it just stinks when for 4 or 5 hours it is just miserable. But yeah, it was just the hopefulness of our voices and how we were looking forward to it. And then, listening back, we were like, gee.
Yeah.
It did not go to plan. Okay, last question.
Okay.
What are you most looking forward to for the next year when it comes to Market House?
Man, over the past year, Market House has become like our little baby. Like we love doing Market House. And, if I would pick one thing, it would be just having more trips to Disney and being able to share that with you, because the amount of memories that we get to do and talk about on the podcast, it's almost like a little travel diary for us, which I love being able to go back and listen to them. So just having that and just being able to have a basis to create more memories, I'm so excited. Like, I can't wait to see where it takes us.
That's good. I think that's kind of same as my answer. It's made doing this, doing the podcast and sharing all of our kind of experiences and travel stuff on Instagram. It starts to make you think of other ways and other things to experience so we could share them with our community. So I look at, okay, we've done Disneyland. We're about to do another Disney cruise. Mm-hmm. We've done Disney World. And I looked at you and I said, why don't we do like a teaser, but why don't we go and go to Burbank and go to the places that Walt used to frequent down in LA area. And so there's just some things that you go, I want to come up with different ideas and different experiences so we can share that. And so I look forward to more travel opportunities, more Disney related experiences that we'll get to do together. Mm-hmm. And then we can talk about it and share it with our friends.
Yeah. Cause we truly love what we do. This is so much fun for us.
It's a ton of fun.
So I love it. I can't believe it's been a year. It's amazing.
It's been a year. So we seriously love you guys and the community we have. Thank you so much for being our internet friends and listening to us talk every week. And again, we can't wait to see what the next year brings us and what Market House is going to turn into.
Yeah, we just so appreciate your support. And we have been able to create friendships with so many people, which is so crazy because back when we started this a year ago and we were just posting and but now it's like we talk to people on a regular basis and just creating like those Disney friends and people who will help me out when I remember something about the Lincoln show.
Just when people reach out and go, you're not crazy. It was a thing.
But yeah, we really appreciate it. And just the reviews and the feedback and just the simple conversations. We truly enjoy it.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. You can find us over on Instagram at Market House Podcast and Twitter at Market House Pod. If you are not following us over there, please do that. You can keep up with our happenings, and you can maybe see some pictures of Alaska soon.
Yeah, stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
It'll be coming.
Make sure to follow us there for all those kind of things. Consider leaving a review over on Apple Podcast and Spotify. That would be a huge help to us. We appreciate everything and all the kind words over there, and that's just a kind of free way to help the show out. Join us next week for another episode. That's it for this week, and bye.